Your Eye on Annapolis daily news brief keeps you informed about what's happening in Annapolis, Anne Arundel County, and Maryland. Local news, local sports, local events, local opinion, and, of course, local weather. Your Eye on Annapolis daily news brief starts now.
Good morning. It's Monday, October 14th, 2024. This is John Frenaye, and this is your Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief presented by Annapolis Subaru and the SPCA of Anne Arundel County. Hey, for those lucky enough to have the day off for Columbus or Indigenous Persons Day, enjoy it. Looks to be a beautiful day, and here's a suggestion for you. 2 words, boat show. But the DNB is not off today, and we do have some news to catch you up on from the weekend, so shall we? The City of Annapolis is offering limited free parking downtown for the holiday season from November 24th through January 1st. 2 hours are free in the downtown metered spots and select garages. The Hillman Garage will offer 1 hour free. Now, you must use the appropriate app to get the freebie, and beyond that, established fines will be enforced. Free parking will be available, as always, at the Calvert Street Garage after 5 p.m. on weekdays and all weekends. Visitors and residents are encouraged to take advantage of these opportunities to make holiday shopping and festivities easier, but the cynic in me says to be very careful and mindful of the time and the alerts that come through on your app, because they may end up costing you a lot of money if you overstay your welcome. The Maryland Health Connection is reminding residents to begin planning for their 2025 health insurance coverage. The open enrollment period does begin on November 1st and runs through January 15th. Residents are urged to review their current plans, explore new options, and take advantage of any available financial assistance. Special events and help centers will be available to assist with that process. Visit Annapolis in Anne Arundel County has announced Rashida Martin as its new Senior Director of External Relations, which is a new position. Martin, who previously held a leadership role at Explore York, Pennsylvania, will focus on strengthening partnerships and expanding the region's tourism initiatives. Her experience in sales and external relations will be key as she leads efforts to enhance the economic growth through tourism. Seeds for Success is hosting its annual Cocktails for a Cause on October 24th at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. The event is going to celebrate the Rotary Club of Annapolis, honoring them with the Caring Community Award for their contributions to the organization. Funds raised will support mentoring programs for local children with a focus on education and social-emotional development, aiming to double the impact on each child by 2027. You can get more information at seedsforsuccess.org, and that is the number 4. Lastly, Annapolis recently released its annual report showcasing the year's accomplishments. As with most annual reports, the challenges are sort of glossed over. And at the end of today's DNB, we're going to present a deep dive into the 40-page document, along with a huge surprise at the very end. I do encourage you to listen to it and wait to the very end for that surprise. And that, my friends, is called a teaser. We did get our weekly poll back up on track, and I'm going to keep it up through this week, so it's going to run a little bit longer than a week. But what we want to know this week is, when do you think the big City Dock renovation project will finally get underway? Hopefully you did catch our Canines and Crosstreks on Friday with Genesis, a true mutt, but a really cute mutt. If you missed it, give it a listen, and then give the SPCA a call and see if you can give Genesis her forever home. On Saturday on the Local Business Spotlight, we chatted with Rachel from Timeless Builds, a South County boutique, that's my word, home builder, and they're doing some really great looking stuff for sure. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you first and foremost, and also a quick thank you to the sponsors for the Daily News Brief: Annapolis Subaru, the SPCA of Anne Arundel County, Solar Energy Services, Hospice of the Chesapeake, Fish for a Cure, and Macmedics up there in Severna Park. Ann Covington is here with her Monday Money Report, and George Young from DCMDVA Weather is also here with the only locally forecasted weather report you need to care about. All of that's coming up for you in just a bit, so hang around.
Hello, energy consumers. This is Rick Peters, president of Solar Energy Services. Is all this talk of inflation making you uneasy? Me too, especially the uncertainty. How bad will it eat into my future purchasing power? Well, don't feel helpless because solar energy can give you some financial control. By installing and owning your solar system, you can lock out electricity cost inflation by locking in your electricity price for more than 25 years. Many of our inflation-fighting clean energy systems offset 100% of the annual electricity demands. Customers frequently add electric vehicle charging and backup batteries to their solar projects, providing them inexpensive auto fuel and additional energy security for the home. Freeze energy inflation in its tracks by committing to affordable, clean solar energy. Call us today at 410-923-6090 or visit us at solarsaves.net. But don't wait another minute. Sunshine's a wasted.
Sunshine, sunshine, nothing else can make me feel so fine.
When you live near Annapolis, you know how fickle the weather can be. So you need a truly local forecast that's accurate and reliable. Forecast right here in Annapolis. DCMDVA weather is not just for today, but for the rest of the week and the weekend too. Now here's George Young of DCMDVA weather with the weather outlook for today and beyond.
Hey everyone, this is George with DCMDVA weather, and this is your Eye on Annapolis forecast for Monday, October 14th. It was an amazing weather weekend for the Annapolis region, and it'll be another nice week ahead as well, though temps will cool a bit during the week before warming late week into the weekend. Look for highs today in the mid-60s to lower 70s with breezy winds out of the west, with chilly 40s tomorrow morning, with cloudy skies Tuesday afternoon and highs around 60 degrees with a very small but valid chance for a shower or two in the PM hours. From there, it'll be very chilly Wednesday with morning lows in the upper 30s to mid-40s with afternoon highs in the upper 50s to lower 60s, followed by more of the same Thursday with more 30s and 40s in the morning and low to mid-60s in the afternoon, with temperatures then warming into the mid to upper 60s on Friday ahead of upper 60s to maybe lower 70s over the weekend. Okay, that's it for today. This is George Young of DCMDVA weather. Make it a great day out there today. Stay healthy and be safe. And be sure to follow DCMDVA weather on Facebook and X for updates each day, along with the website at dcmdvaweather.info, so you can always stay weather informed.
Fish for a day, party for a night, all for a great cause. Don't miss Fish for a Cure's 18th annual fishing tournament and shore party, Saturday, November 9th at Safe Harbor, Annapolis. Register to fish and raise funds for the Cancer Survivorship Program at Luminous Health Anne Arundel Medical Center's Gayton and Joanne D. Cesaris Cancer Institute. All funds raised directly benefit cancer patients and their families. Register your boat or get your shore party ticket for fishforacure.org. Again, that's fishforacure.org. You work hard for your money. Is your money working hard for you? Managing and investing it can be confusing. Ann Covington, a financial planner from CovingtonAlsina, has been helping people make sense of it for nearly 20 years. Are you ready? Now, here's your Monday Money Report.
This is Ann Covington of CovingtonAlsina with your Monday Money Report. The markets reached an all-time high last week, with the S&P 500 crossing the 5,800 mark for the first time. Inflation data came in mixed, with CPI a little higher than expected and the Producers' Price Index a little lower. Over the next few weeks, we'll see publicly traded companies reporting quarterly earnings, and there may be some volatility with that. With the boat shows wrapping up, I had a social conversation with a young couple that would really like a boat, but they knew they couldn't afford one. I nodded along, but the conversation continued on to all the wonderful restaurants in the area and the ones where they regularly eat. For most of those restaurants, the check for two people with drinks is easily $100, and they are probably eating out 10 to 12 times a month on the low end. The simple fact is that they can afford a boat. They have other priorities. Many of us are fortunate to be in a position to have pretty much anything we want. We just can't have everything we want. Over my career, I've had this conversation professionally with many clients. They want a boat or to travel more, or to pay for their children's education, and feel as though they can't afford it. The deck is stacked against us. We live in an expensive area. Over a quarter of Anne Arundel residents spend over 30% of their income on housing. But the bigger problem is that the majority of our spending is unconscious. Most bills are on auto pay, and we put everything else on a credit card that we pay, or not, at the end of the month. And human brains are not wired for self-deprivation. There are a few things you can do to turn the tables. First, start paying attention to where your money goes. You can keep a spending log or sit down weekly to review everything you've purchased. Merely paying attention and seeing how much you're spending eating out or shopping online can be an eye-opener. Figure out your priorities and set goals. It may be to get out of debt or take that vacation or buy the boat. Your brain works better when you're choosing something you want rather than depriving yourself of something else. You can buy that cool gadget online. You can go out to eat or order delivery. Frame it as, which do you want more, the vacation or the gadget? To be debt-free and cook dinner, or add more debt while you sit on the couch? Pay attention to your spending and make conscious choices that align with your goals. Just remember to send us a postcard from your vacation. Your action item this week is to start decluttering before the holidays. Your unwanted items can be someone else's holiday gifts. As the weather cools and we spend more time indoors, a home with less clutter is less stressful. Be sure to check out our website at CovingtonAlsina.com or our Facebook page for more information and to register for our upcoming educational events. Don't forget to drop by our office with a sweater, fleece, or sweatshirt for just one sweater. Covington Alsina is a registered investment advisor. Information presented for educational purposes only. It's not to make an offer, solicitation, with sale, or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments are all risk, unless otherwise stated and not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and/or tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. And if you don't have a financial advisor, come talk to us. This is Ann Covington with Covington Alsina.
Coping with advanced illness can be overwhelming, and determining the best options for a loved one isn't always so easy. But here at Hospice of the Chesapeake, your hometown hospice, we want you to know you do have a choice. You can choose exactly who provides the care and the type of care you receive, and it's your decision when and where your loved one receives that care. We have served our community, family, and friends for over 40 years. We are there when you need us. Learn how we can help at hospicechesapeake.org.
All right, ready to dive in. We're tackling the City of Annapolis's 2024 annual report.
We're going to dig deep, go beyond the headlines, and really get a feel for what's happening in Annapolis.
Because let's be real, just skimming an annual report,
Yeah.
not exactly a thrill ride. But
Yeah.
This is about more than just numbers, right? It's about understanding a city.
Absolutely. And Annapolis, it's not your average city. History around every corner, but also facing modern-day challenges. Over 40,000 people call it home, and this report, it gives us a peek behind the curtain.
So let's start with the basics. Who's calling the shots in Annapolis?
Well, the report lays out a pretty standard structure. You've got the mayor and the city council, 8 elected officials representing different parts of the city.
So the mayor's got the overall vision, and
Yeah.
the council's there to kind of keep things in check, make sure everyone's voice is heard.
Exactly. A classic system of checks and balances. But here's where it gets a little more interesting. The report also talks about the city manager.
Okay, so
This is a role appointed by the mayor, gets approved by the council, and they're the ones handling the day-to-day operations.
I see. So if the mayor is like the CEO, big picture stuff, the city manager is more like the COO, making sure the trains run on time.
Perfect analogy. And understanding that dynamic, it's key because it influences how smoothly things get done in Annapolis.
Right, because if the mayor and the council have different priorities, or if the city manager isn't on the same page, well, that's when things could get
A little messy, yeah. The report doesn't exactly dive into any political drama,
right.
but just knowing this structure gives you a lens to view everything else we're going to unpack.
Okay, so we got our players. Let's talk money. The report gives us a look at Annapolis's finances, and I gotta say, some interesting stuff in there.
For sure. One thing that jumped out at me was how much revenue the city gets from its enterprise funds. These are basically self-supporting city services.
So like water, sewer, parking,
Yeah.
stuff that keeps the city running.
Exactly. And while those brought in a good chunk of change, it was parking that really caught my eye. It actually made more than refuse collection.
Wait, hold up. People pay more for parking in Annapolis than they do for garbage pickup. Seriously.
It's true. And it tells you something interesting about the city. Annapolis is a popular spot, tourists and residents, and it seems like a lot of people rely on their cars.
Makes sense. Limited parking, tons of visitors. Suddenly those parking meters and garages are looking like cash cows.
Exactly. High parking revenue, though, it does raise some questions. Does this mean they need better public transportation? Could we see parking fees go up? These are the things a savvy citizen might start thinking about after reading this report.
It's like a puzzle. Each piece gives you a little more of the picture. So we've got our players. We've peeked into the city's wallet. Now let's talk vision. Where's Annapolis headed?
Right, because managing the day-to-day is one thing, but what about the future? Well, the report, it outlines 5 big themes that guide the city.
Okay, lay it on me. What are these guiding principles?
They list them as transparency, equity, environment, resilience, and service.
Those sound like more than just buzzwords. Does the report give actual examples of how they're putting these themes into action?
It does. For example, in the planning and development section, it talks about the city council approving a new retirement community. But here's the catch.
Okay.
The approval. It was tied to the developer agreeing to set aside 124 acres for conservation.
So they're balancing economic growth with protecting the environment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good example of how those themes play out in the real world.
Exactly. It's one thing to talk the talk, it's another to walk the walk, and that's what we're going to explore, how these themes translate into action.
Color me intrigued. Let's see what other nuggets of wisdom we can dig up. We're back and ready to dig a little deeper into the specifics. This report's like a treasure map, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're on the hunt for those buried gems.
I like that. And sometimes the most interesting stuff isn't in the big pronouncements, but in how those ideas actually become reality.
Totally. Because setting goals is one thing, but actually pulling it off, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mayor's vision for Annapolis. What's top of his list?
Well, reading through this report, you see a big emphasis on a few key things: sustainability, resilience, and equity. These aren't just buzzwords. They're like guiding principles for projects and initiatives.
It's like those 5 themes we talked about: transparency, equity, environment, resilience, and service. Now we're seeing how those themes actually apply.
Exactly. And there are 2 projects they highlight that really show this. First, the City Dock Flood Mitigation Project.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. City Dock is beautiful, so historic, but man, it's vulnerable to flooding, especially with sea levels rising.
No kidding. And the report, it's pretty upfront about the costs, a cool $70 million. But it's not just about protecting buildings, right?
Wow, it's about
preserving the heart of Annapolis.
It's the history, the culture, the livelihood. City Dock, it's more than just a bunch of shops and restaurants. It's like a symbol of Annapolis.
Exactly. So this project, it's crucial. It's about making sure City Dock is still here for everyone in the future.
Like they're building a fortress around Annapolis's heritage. Now, the other project that caught my eye, revitalizing Eltonia Carr's Beach Park.
Ah, that one's got a fascinating history.
Tell me more. I'm always up for a good history lesson.
So back during segregation, when Black folks were kept out of most public beaches, Eltonia Carr's Beach, it was a haven.
Really?
A place where Black families could enjoy the water. Musicians like Duke Ellington performed there. Black-owned businesses were thriving.
So it was more than just a beach. It was about resilience, community.
Absolutely. Sadly, though, over the years, the park, it just fell apart. And that's why this revitalization is so important. The city's investing $12 million, restoring the shoreline, creating a heritage park, and most importantly, making sure everyone can access the water.
That's incredible. A city investing in its past and its future at the same time. It's honoring the legacy of Eltonia Carr's Beach, but also creating a space for the next generation.
It really embodies those themes we keep coming back to: equity, environment, and service. Righting past wrongs, creating a sustainable future, serving all residents.
Amazing to see how those big ideas become real projects with a real impact. But let's zoom in a little closer. This report is full of interesting details about all the different city departments.
Oh, it is. We don't have time to cover everything, but we should highlight some of the cool stuff happening.
I'm all for that. Let's see what other hidden treasures we can uncover. All right, we've talked big picture, but what I love about this report is how it gets into the nitty-gritty. Time to explore those departments working behind the scenes, keeping Annapolis running.
Where the rubber meets the road, right? The everyday stuff that affects, everyone living here.
Exactly. So Public Works, they're like the unsung heroes. They resurfaced 3.5 miles of roadway this year. That's a lot of asphalt.
That's like what? Paving from the Naval Academy gates all the way to the State House? Maintaining a city this old, it never stops.
And it's not just roads. Over 600 feet of water main replaced. Some of that stuff was ancient.
Can you imagine? Keep those pipes flowing, it takes real skill.
For sure. Okay, planning and zoning. They're tackling the whole affordable housing thing. Their MPDU program, those moderately priced dwelling units.
Right, trying to make sure people who work in Annapolis can afford to, live here too.
Which is huge, right? So what's the latest?
Looks like they're aiming to sell 25 MPDUs in the next few years, starting around $312,000. A step in the right direction, for sure, but it's a tough problem.
Yeah, no easy answers there. Okay, public safety, the police department, they had a 100% clearance rate for homicides.
That's impressive. Shows their investigations are top-notch. But they're also really focused on working with the community. preventing crime before it happens.
Yeah, they talked about their positive impact reentry program, helping people who are incarcerated get back on their feet.
Exactly. Give them support, reduce the chances of them ending up back in jail. Smart approach.
It's about addressing the root causes, not just reacting after the fact. Speaking of safety, the fire department's still rocking that ISO rating of 1 in 20.
Best of the best. Means they're super efficient, well-trained, and that translates into lower insurance costs for homeowners.
So a great fire department can actually save you money. Good to know.
And they don't just fight fires. They're out there teaching people about fire safety, CPR, all that good stuff. Almost 40 events this year.
Always good to be prepared. Okay, got to talk about recreation and parks. Over 1,800 campers. A new online registration system.
And they hosted the country's first ever LGBTQIA plus Recreation and Park Summit. Talk about being inclusive.
I love that. Shows they're really in tune with the community. Okay, one last thing, transportation. The Hillman Garage finally opened. And this isn't your grandpa's parking garage.
Oh, no. This is a 21st century garage, EV charging stations, solar panels, the works. Annapolis walking the walk on sustainability.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're not just about cars. The Magenta shuttle service is doing really well. Thousands of riders every month.
Providing those transportation alternatives, got to ease that traffic congestion. It's all connected.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Annapolis Annual Report, what really stood out to you?
Honestly, it's the sheer amount of work the city does that most people never even think about. Roads, water, housing, safety, they're handling it all.
A small army of dedicated people keeping everything running smoothly.
It makes you appreciate how much goes into making a city like Annapolis tick. But it also made me think, it's not just up to the city.
That's right.
It's on us, the residents, to be involved too. Stay informed, speak up, make our voices heard.
Exactly. This report, it's not just a bunch of numbers, it's a snapshot of our city in action. And the question is, what role will you play in shaping Annapolis's future? Will you be a bystander or will you get involved?
Because you can make a difference. Go to a city council meeting, volunteer your time, even just staying informed is a big step.
This report gave us the knowledge. Now it's time to put it to use. Explore those online resources, connect with your elected officials, and discover how you can be part of the story of Annapolis. Until next time, happy exploring.
So, what did you think? Pretty detailed, huh? Well, about that surprise. I have no idea who those two people are, and it was all done by AI. I uploaded the document. 4 minutes later, this is what I got. This, folks, is the future of AI.
You've been listening to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. Tell your friends and colleagues, this is the podcast where you can keep up on the latest with what's going on in Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. And don't forget about our website, eyeonannapolis.net, where you can find even more information. And make sure you follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Eye on Annapolis. This Daily News Brief podcast comes to you every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m.